This conference will now be recorded.
And yesterday, for some reason, I am not able to take the session. Today we continue. And before session, I explained about we are learning about using the array list. Let us go with that. Let me give a quick recap on the previous session array list. Then we go with the next topic. Well, first you answer me. First you answer me. We have a concept called array. We have a concept called array, right? Then the question, we can go with arrays. Then why to choose array list? First, you answer me in the chat box, then I'll continue. We can declare an array, then why to go with the array list? When to go for arrays and when to go for array list? Please ping your answer. Array, we cannot extend the size during runtime. If I know these many values I'm going to store, in future also I'm not going to resize, extend, I'm not going to store more values, then go for fixed size, that is arrays. If you want to add, keep on adding the values. Today I'm adding 10 values. Tomorrow I may add another 10 values. So we can go with that. Dynamically, you can store, you want to store the value. Say, for example, from somewhere, from an Excel sheet, I want to access the data. I want to keep in Java memory. But I do not know how many rows or how many sample data are available in the Excel sheet. If I know 10 values I'm going to store, I go with array. I do not know how many values are available in the Excel sheet. I want to pull the data from Excel and pump into the Java memory. I do not know how many values I'm going to store. I want to resize or extend the size of an array during runtime. Then we go for a array list. As you said, correct? Array is a fixed size. Array list is a dynamic size. Well, now, what is the syntax for declaring an array list? Array list. Array list is one of the Java class. You do observe in java.util package, we have a class called array list. It is a class. And I'm declaring an array to store the string values. And do remember, array list is a class. If you see the source code of the array list, the actual code of the array list, it takes one input argument, which is a reference class. The input argument of array list should be a reference object. See here, int. If int is a class, is int is a class? Answer me. No. What is int called? Int or char or this boolean or this long. What are actually these are called? Primitive data types. Primitive data types. Okay. We'll go with this. We'll go with the array list in detail. Before I go with this, why string given as a class in Java instead of data type? Try to answer this question. Why string given as class in Java? You do observe here, string. String is one of the Java class. You please observe here, string is one of the Java class. This int is not a class. Int is not a class. The answer from the people, it provides some built-in functions. Yes, string is a class with some ready-made functions. Say for example here, I'm creating a class, say car. I created a class car. For this car class, I can define some methods or built-in functions. Maybe later we learn about this object-oriented in detail, how to create a method. Just try to understand the concept. I'm creating some functionality here, methods here. Maybe static or non-static or whatever. Later we talk about methods, static and non-static in detail. Something like this, whatever it may be. Here I created a class with some built-in functions. Here actually we have to implement code. We have to implement the code. I was not implemented any code. Now actually here as of now, car is a class. The same way, string is a class. The same way, string is a class with some ready-made functions. We already learned some built-in functions available in the string class. In the similar manner, Java provided a built-in class. Java provided a built-in class string. I'm not creating it, just it is already available in the Java with some functions. Like already we learned some functions like this equals, the return type is a Boolean because it compared the two given strings and return the value. Equals ignore case, like contains, length. There are many ready-made functions already available. This kind of implementation is already available in the Java. Got it? Now, okay. So if string given as a data type, if string given as a data type like int, like char, like boolean, like long, like byte, they cannot provide the built-in function. If a programmer want to give some built-in functions, definitely in object-oriented programming languages, a class must be created. So Java people have created a class with the name string and provided all possible ready-made operations in terms of built-in functions, that equals or equals, ignore case or whatever. Well, now coming to this array list, when you refer the array list source code, it takes an input argument of type a class. Here input type should be a class. Here int is not a class, byte is not a class, char is not a class. But here input type should be a class, string. Then I'm giving some name like demo list equal to new array list of type string. Right. We have discussed some concept like how to add the data, how to remove the data, etc., etc. See, maybe demo list dot. I'm adding a value. Once again, quickly I'll finish off it. I'm adding few values here. I know I already discussed about it. Quickly, I'm giving a recap on this. I'm adding some data. Well, now we have observed how to count the number of elements in a array list. In order to count the number of elements in a array list, we have a method for the array list size. It returns number of elements in it. Now we have 3 here. There are 3 elements here. Well, now if I want to access a particular element, array list is completely index based. The data will be stored based on the indexes. Actually, array list internally creates an array which is index based. I want to access the data present in a particular element, particular index at 0th index position. So what is the value present at the 0th index? Richards. Now, see here. Here I'm explaining how to access the data. Well, I show. I want to add some data between John and Smith. Yes, possible. How? Demo list dot add. You please observe here. When I use this add, first method only add with the data string, the data will be appended at the end of the list. Supposing if I am giving some data here, some test data here, test data will be added at the end of the list. The index will be 0, 1, 2. This index will be 3. Supposing I want to add some data at a particular position. Add at a particular position. I can specify the index. And now I am giving, I want to add the data between John and Smith. What is the index? You answer me. I want to add this data, some data between John and Smith. You tell me the index. 2. Right. Index 2. Good. Index 2. And the data I want to add. Supposing the test data, whatever. Now, before this, I'm accessing the data present at the second position. Demo list dot get the data present at the second position. After adding the data at the second position, again I'm reading the data. Okay, and also here, once again, I'm getting the size here. After adding also, I'm getting the size here. You keenly observe the output now. First here we are getting 3. We have added 3 items into the list. We have added 3 items into the list. And here we are accessing the size of the array list. Here the output is 3. Well, now I'm accessing the data present at the second position. What is the data available at the second position? It's 0, 1, 2, Smith. Then we are adding some test data at the second position. Then I'm accessing the data present at the second position. After adding test data at second position, now the data available at the second position is test data. Then what happened to the Smith? Smith is moved to the next position. Smith will be moved to the next position. After inserting test data in between, the size is increased, dynamically extended to one more number, 4. Got it? So here, whenever we are adding some data, the rest of the values will be shifted. If you are adding a data in between, remaining values are shifted to right, and data will be inserted in between. And truly speaking here, if you want to do this kind of manipulation, like inserting the data or removing the data, truly array list is not recommended. Because what happens, whenever we are inserting the data, all elements available in the array list shifted to right one position if I'm inserting one value. When I remove the data, all data available in the array list shifted left one position. Because complete it is index based. Array list is index based. Whenever you insert or remove, complete data available in the array list, already 100 items available or 1000 items available, will be shifted the positions, either left or right. If I remove left, when I insert right. Truly, this shifting will take some amount of time. So in performance point of view, array list is not preferred. Really, you want to perform many manipulations like inserting data or updating data or deleting the data. If really you want to perform such kind of manipulations, rather than going for an array list, it is recommended to go with one more list called linked list. What is this linked list? Linked list is not completely index based like array list. Array list is purely index based. Linked list, internally it maintains a double linked list. For every element you stored in the linked list, previous node value, next node value will be registered in the memory. Whenever you are inserting the data, all values will not be shifted. Only the in between one value will be inserted with the reference of the previous node and the next node. Meaning already 100 items are available in a linked list. In between I am inserting some data. Only wherever I am inserting the data, the previous node, next node will be linked. Rest of the values will not be shifted. Only that particular position will be shifted. So this is how, if you really want to perform many manipulations like inserting and updating in the existing data present in the list, it is always preferred to go with the linked list. I repeat, there is another concept called linked list. Let me do that. Same procedure. There is no change except internal memory allocation. See, end user point of view, we don't observe much difference here. While writing the code or executing the code, we don't see any difference. But internally, when it comes to memory management point of view, there's a little difference. Okay. Now let me create a linked list. Like array list, I'm creating a linked list to store some data. Say demo list equal to new linked list. Even this linked list also one of the Java class. And what kind of data I want to store? String. Well, all operations are same. I want to add some data, add some data. Now I am using the linked list here. Well, if I want to count the number of elements in the linked list, same procedure. There is no difference in code point of view. Only in the memory allocation point of view, there is a difference between the array list and linked list. Finally, after explaining this, I'll conclude when to go for array list and when to go for linked list. Let me explain the code point of view first. Now I want to count the number of elements in the linked list. The mechanism is same. My linked list name dot size like array list. There's no difference in syntax or code point of view. Now we get 3. Yes, the size is 3. Now I want to add one more element in between John and Smith, like the previous one. Same concept. Demo list dot add at a particular index some data I'm adding here. After adding the data, the size was extended. Size was extended. Now I'm accessing the data present at a particular position. Now the data available at the second position test data because the value was inserted. But internally in memory, like even removing also same. Supposing I am removing a value, remove the data present at the second position or data present at the first position. Here when I insert in between, all values will not be shifted to left or right. Only where I'm inserting, from where I'm deleting, the next nodes will be, references will be mapped. For every element present in the linked list, previous node reference, next node reference will be maintained. Whenever I insert, whenever I remove, only that mapping will change, rest of the allocations will not be changed. So in this memory management point of view, if you really want to insert the data dynamically, or remove the data dynamically, you want to perform many manipulations on the data present in the list, you better to go with a linked list. One time I'm going to store the data, just I'm going to access the data, better you go for a array list. But mostly we use array list because array list is completely index based. Every element will have its fixed index, no previous node, no next node, nothing like that. Completely array list is index based. Searching mechanism would be faster than a linked list. Supposing here, I'll go to the previous one array list. Here I'm writing a condition that I want to check some data available in the array list or not. Now it is array list. I want to check some data present in the array list or not. Demo list. Here the demo list is array list name here. It's a separate class. Demo list dot. I have a method contains. I'm giving some data. For example, John. It verify whether it contains or not. If contains, I want to print data found. Else, I want to print data not found. Something like this. As it is a array list, coming to contains mechanism would be very faster because it is completely index based. Searching mechanism would be little faster than a linked list. Yes, data found. John available. If I am giving something like demo, which is not available in the list, we get data not found. But internally, this mechanism is faster for the array list than a linked list because array list is completely search based on the index basis. Whereas when I implement the same here, no output is found or not found you will get. But internally mechanism, it takes some amount of time. Really, it is little slow when you compare with array list. So if I have just 3 values or 10 values or 20 values, we don't observe much difference. If we have thousands of values in a list, then only you see some major difference between the array list and linked list in memory management point of view. So now the question to us, array list, linked list, both are Java classes. And you can create an array list or a linked list only for reference classes. We cannot create a array list, we cannot create a linked list for primitive data types like int or char or boolean. I repeat, we cannot create a array list, we cannot create a linked list for the primitive data types like int or char or boolean. Then if really I want to maintain the integers of dynamically varying size, how? We'll talk about this. We'll discuss about this today. Here linked list, array list are Java classes which allows only reference data types, not primitive data types. Okay, here, once again, reference data types. Here the string is one of the reference data type, nothing but a Java class. Supposing, what I'm trying to say, this int is not possible. You please observe here, it's showing an error. In this line itself, it is showing an error because it will not accept primitive data type. It will accept only reference data type. Okay. Previous I used a reference data type string. Let me use another reference data type. Say for example here, like string, which is one of the Java reference data type, we have one more, say for example, object. You please observe here, object. It is another reference data type, which is another Java class. It holds any kind of data. You can store any kind of data. Say for example, now here I'm creating a list. One moment. I'm creating a array list of type object. Object. See, this is allowed here. Previously, I created an array list to store the strings. Now I am creating an array list to store the objects. Object also a class we have observed here. It is also one of the Java class, reference type. You can create a linked list or array list only for the reference data type, not for primitive data types. Now, what is this object? What is the difference between the string and object? Here, observe. Can you mute yourself? Okay. Here, I want to add employee number, or say, for example, employee name, which is a string, Richards. At first position, I added employee name. At next position, I want to add the age of the employee. For example, 25. At next position, I want to add gender of an employee, male or female, single character, M. At next position, I want to add salary of an employee, say 50,000.50, something like this. In the next position, I want to add whether this employee working or not, true or false. Say true. So now, clearly, you answer me. What is the major difference between this string and object? String accept only the string data, whereas object can access any kind of data. This point is clear. See, all these concepts we have to remember clearly, because while developing Selenium codes, we are going to use all this stuff. Well, completely see, we are not learning the core Java or advanced Java. We are learning the Java in testing point of view. Whatever the concepts I am teaching on Java, all these concepts we are going to use while developing automation test cases with Selenium. Well, so as of now, the conclusion, the main difference between the string and object, string can hold only the string values, whereas object can hold any kind of data. Done. The remaining procedure would be the same. Everything is same. Supposing I want to access a size, demo list dot size. Oh, sorry. Demo list dot size. Totally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, it's 5. Well, remaining all operations are same. Accessing the data, removing the data, everything is same. Here in this example, what I'm trying to explain, we can create a array list of any reference data type, not for any primitive data type. Well, see here. I'm trying to create a array list for a primitive data type int. Demo list equal to new array list of data type int. It's not possible. This should be a Java class. Array list requires an input argument of type class. Say for example, okay, let's see here. I'm creating a class with the name person. Person is my Java class. It's already there. Okay. Here there is a class called person. Some functionalities, whatever. Finally, there is a class here I created with the name person. Now see, we are not allowed to create a array list of primitive data type, because array list needs reference class as input argument. String I can use, because string is a class in Java. Okay. Object I can use, because object also a class in Java. It is allowed. See, we are not getting any errors. Observe that. We are not getting any error lines here. And any user defined type also we can use. Just now I have created a class with the name person. It is a user defined class. I created a class called person in the package Java Basics. That also I can use. You please observe there is no error here, because person is a class. Here person is a Java class I created. So array list and linked list allows only reference class, not the primitive data type. That is the conclusion. Got it? Right. Till this point understood, do confirm. I'll continue further. Array list, linked list accepts only reference data type, not primitive data type. And complete mechanism, adding elements, accessing elements, getting the size, removing element, all these operations are same for both array list and linked list. Then here, as an end user, you have to take a call whether to go for a array list or a linked list. You have to decide and take a call whether to go for a array list or a linked list. Right. Generally, in real time, in practicality, when I go for a array list, I want to store some data, then I want to access the data. I want to perform some such operations. In Excel file, I have some data. I want to take into Java memory. I want to access the data from the memory. I want to search the values available in the memory. I do not want to perform any further manipulations like inserting data or removing data. Just I want to store the data, access the data, and I want to perform some such operation. I go with, yes, answer me. Array list, correct. If really you want to perform some manipulation like inserting, deleting, you go with a linked list. Now you answer me, searching mechanism. Let us say I have 1,000 values in array list. I have another 1,000 values in a linked list. In my Java memory, I have one array list, one linked list. These two lists have 1,000 elements. I want to search a value present in the array list, linked list. Which one is faster? Which one is faster? Linked list. Array list is faster. This is what I'm saying. Because array list is index based, searching mechanism would be very fast in array list. Linked list searching mechanism would be slow. Well, don't worry, don't have more confusion. When it comes to Selenium WebDriver point of view, we are going to use mostly 99% in my previous projects implementation also, we use array list. Okay? See here, consider as Java is a development software. For developer point of view, they have given these two options. Let me explain. A Java developer creating a web page for employee management. A developer creating a web page for employee management. What is employee management? You want to insert data, update data, delete data, search the existing data in the database. Now here, I want to insert data, update data, delete data. Here I go for a linked list. For searching mechanism, I go for a array list. In performance point of view, these kind of two separate lists are provided by the Java programming. But whereas in testing point of view, we use only array list, no doubt about it. Because we are not a Java developer to insert, update, delete. We are checking the data what I have inserted properly stored in the database or not, something like that. Well, now, as array list and linked list will not support primitive data type, I repeat, array list and linked list are not supported with primitive data types, but I encountered a situation where I want to store salaries of the employees, age of the employees, which I want to get from the Excel and load into Java memory. In Excel sheet, I have salaries of the employees. I have age of the employees. I do not know how many values are available. I want to get and I want to load into the Java memory. Definitely here I cannot go for array because I do not know how many values are available. I have to go with array list, no doubt about it. But I want to store the age of the people, age of the employees, int. Int is not supported, then what to do? What to do? And do remember, for all primitive data types, whatever the primitive data types available, yes, a few people have answered me, object. I can go for object, agree with you. I can go for object, agree with you. In addition to that, for all primitive data types, the Java provided a wrapper class, integer, sorry. Oh, you please do observe here. Integer is a class. See, in Java, int is a primitive data type. Int is a primitive data type, whereas integer is a reference class. It is a wrapper class actually. To work with all primitive data types, to perform some manipulations on all primitive data types, for all primitive data types, they have given the classes. Integer y equal to 20. Here it is a primitive data type, whereas it is a class. This integer class provided many functions. For example, this integer value I want to convert to string. This integer value, okay, other way. This integer value I want to convert to other format, string format. Possible? X dot. See, I'm not getting anything. Because here, X is not a class, object of the class. X is simply a primitive data type. Whereas, let's see, Y dot, you please observe here. There is a method to string. I can convert the integer data type to string. If really you want to perform this kind of operations, rather than going for a primitive data type, go with a class. Not only for this integer, for all primitive data types available in Java, corresponding wrapper classes are given. What are the other things available? Say double. You please observe there is a class called double and boolean and character. See, for all primitive data types, appropriate classes are given. Got it? Now, all these classes provided some built-in functions to perform some manipulations, like a string. As the string class provided many built-in functions, similarly, character class, boolean class, integer class also provided some built-in function to perform some manipulations. Well, now I want to create an array list to store age of the employees. Here you tell me what you want me to do now. I want to create an array list, not array list to store age of the employees. Yes, I can use integer, which is a reference type, not integer. Int is a primitive data type, whereas integer is a class. Then I'm creating my array list name, new array list of type integer. The remaining procedure is same. Oh, sorry. The remaining procedure would be the same. Demo list dot add. I'm adding the value. Remaining everything is same. There's no change. Demo list dot add everything. Supposing I want to get the size, demo list dot size. I want to access the entire data, or demo list dot get off 0. Here first I am accessing the size. Now I'm accessing the data here. In the same way, I want to go for another type called, say for example, double array list of type double, and here I'm adding some values here. Something double values. Let us run this. Same thing even applicable for linked list also. Got it? Same we can do for even linked list also. Right. If you have any questions till this point, I'll conclude. Then I go with my next topic. See, let me summarize what we have discussed. Arrays, array list, linked list. Array or fixed size. Accepts any kind of data type. Arrays are of fixed size, accept any kind of data type. You can create an array for int, you can create an array for string, you can create an array for double, you can create an array for any other data types also. The day before yesterday's session, we have discussed about these arrays. Then, array list, dynamic size, varying size, not a fixed size. And array list accepts only reference type, not primitive data types like int, char, long, etc. Only reference data type. So reference data types such as string, object, any other user-defined class. Any other user-defined class. Linked list also same concept. So usage point of view, end user point of view, there is no difference between array list and linked list. User point of view. When it comes to memory management point of view, what is the difference? Coming to array list, I'll say this is the first point here in the array list. And when it comes to second point, a array list best fit if you want to store data and access data. Coming to linked list, is best fit if you want to manipulate data, like you want to insert in between or delete kind of operations. So if you just want to store the data and access the data, array list is a better option. After storing the data, you want to perform further manipulation, linked list would be the better option. And the other major difference here, the linked list is faster in searching items present in the list because it is index based. It is index based search mechanism. If you want to search some item data present in the list, it is always better to go for array list because its searching mechanism is index based. Always index based search would be faster. Coming to linked list, it is little slow for searching items present in the list because it is not index based, it is reference previous node and next node reference based search mechanism. These are the major differences between the array list and linked list. Finally conclusion, in testing point of view, I want to verify some data is available in the database or not, in Excel sheet or not, whatever I have created in my application under test. For searching point of view, it is always preferred to go with the array list, not the linked list. Oh, sorry. The point number 3, I have mentioned linked list. Its array list is faster in searching than a linked list. Well, good. So these are the major comparisons here. And you can create a array list or a linked list of any data type now by using the reference classes, not primitive. But for all primitive data types, appropriate wrapper classes available to perform some operations. Well, friends. So there is a question from the student Sanjana. Can we go with double and integer? See, if really that is your requirement, Sanjana, I want to store even decimal value, you go with double. Even double accept integer also, right? Double accept even integer also. Let's see. Double x comma y. X equal to 10. Okay. If I go with the double like this, sorry. X equal to 10, y equal to 10.25. Right. If you want to go with the same thing, you want to implement the list, link array list and all, better you go for an object because object can hold any kind of data. Right. If really in one Java list, in one list you want to store different kinds of data, object is a better option, better choice. Done. Now, see here, this array list is a class, correct? It's a class, and this linked list also a class. See, the linked list also a class. These two classes are implementation of, I write here, array list and linked list or implementation of list interface. Here I use a new word. Here I use a new word, interface. See here, when I ask the questions, you post your questions. I have to continue the session, right? Array list and linked list are implementation of list interface. We'll talk about what is a interface and class in detail later. In detail later when I talk about object oriented. For simple understanding, see, for example, a car. Car is one object. Then bike is another object. Then, say for example, say bus is another object. Car is one object, bike one object, bus one object. But these three objects are similar category, correct? These three objects are similar category. These three objects belongs to a type, vehicle type, correct? These three objects belongs to a type called vehicle. In this scenario, I can say vehicle is a superclass, car, bike, bus are child class, which are implementation of the vehicle. Car, bike, bus are the implementation of vehicle, which is a superclass. Similarly, consider another example. ICICI Bank, one object. HDFC Bank, another object. SBI Bank, another object. These three banks are controlled by a super bank. What is that?
RBI.
Reserve Bank of India. Very good. These three objects are controlled, belongs to Reserve Bank of India. Here I can say RBI is a superclass. These are independent classes, independent objects. This bank will have some operations. This bank will have some operations. This bank will have some operation. This management can make some decision. This management can make another decision. But in all these three objects, there are some common operations. What are the common operations? Deposit functionality, withdrawal functionality, money transfer functionality, and also these banks will offer the housing loans functionalities. All banks have some common operations. All common operations will be available at the superclass RBI. And bank to bank, supposing ICICI Bank offering a service which is not offered by the HDFC Bank. Only that functionalities belongs to a particular object or defined inside the class. All common implementations will be available inside the superclass. Similarly, consider this simple example. Here, vehicle is a superclass interface. Implements car, bike, and bus. You tell me what are the common operations available in these three objects? What are the common operations available in these three objects? Start. You have to start a car, you have to start a bike, you have to start a bus. Start, accelerate, stop. These are the common operations. All common operations will be present in the interface called vehicle. Then, in the car, there is a feature, reversing a car, which is not in the bike. In a bike, there is a feature, put stand. I cannot put stand for a car. Only the functions specific to a particular object will be defined inside the class. All common operations will be present in an interface, which is a superclass called vehicle in this context. In the same way, here array list, linked list, or belongs to an interface called list. Oh, sorry. What is this? List. Here, list is an interface. Supposing here, string, the name of the list, demo list, equal to, I'm creating an object for the array list now. Now, I can access the methods available in the array list. Also, I can access common implementation available in the list interface. Here, I created an object for the class array list. Implements the list. Now, the remaining procedure would be the same. I can access some functions available in the interface, also the functions available in the appropriate class. So remaining everything is same. So why we have to write the code generally in this way? So that list is an interface extends collection framework. All the features available in the collection framework, if you want to utilize in your program, better while creating an object for the array list or linked list, map it to the interface list, so that as list extends the collection framework, we can make use of all the other programming facilities here, except that remaining is same. So here, what I'm trying to say, previously I used to create array list in this way, array list, string, name of the array list, name of the object, sorry, demo list, equal to new array list. Okay, otherwise, here I'm giving a name, a list, array list. Similarly, I used to create a linked list in this way, linked list, string, L list equal to new linked list of type string. But hereafter I recommend instead of this, while creating an object for the array list, map it to the interface list. As list extends from collection framework, all the features of the collection framework I can use with the reference of the list. Similarly, instead of creating a linked list object like this, better while creating an object for the linked list, map it to the list interface. So we can get more functions for the list object. All collection framework latest stuff I can use. So better from hereafter, if you are creating an object for the array list or you are creating an object for a linked list, you map it to the interface list. List is an interface here, right? So today's session is all about just working with the lists. And tomorrow I'll briefly introduce you about the you know, some other concept like a set and all, then we go further. Tomorrow I'll introduce you a set, working with the set. But generally, there are many sets or many lists in the entire Selenium project point of view. We are going to use a list interface. We are going to use a set interface. That's it. There are about many collection frameworks, 9 collection frameworks available in the Java, but we are going to use list and set only. We are not going to touch any one of the other interfaces in the entire Selenium project. Well, maybe in developer point of view, they may use some other list type somewhere, but in testing points of view, in my entire experience, I never used the remaining Java collection frameworks in the course. For today, I stop here. Tomorrow, we go with the set. Thank you. Some terminologies what I have introduced in my class: extends, implementation, interface, class. As of now, you hold this because I started only variables, arrays, next level to arrays, collections. Down the line, after introducing you the set concept, I'll again start what is a class, what is a superclass, what is an interface, what you mean by extends. All we have to learn, we learn. We are using already ready-made classes, ready-made interfaces available in the Java. This thing I was not created, already it is in the Java. Object I was not created, already it is available in the Java. They are already extending some parent classes. So while teaching some concept, I'm using the words extend, implementation. Okay. So down the line, we learn all these keywords in detail. Don't worry about it. Thank you. We continue tomorrow. Good night.